Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Heather Bradley, the Director of the Center for Nonprofit Resources. If we haven't had a chance yet to meet, welcome back to the people who are with us in session one. You know what a treat we're in for with Tom for session two. And I'm just going to turn the meeting over briefly to Heather Slough, who is the president of our local AFP chapter. And we are proud to partner with AFP annually to bring you great speakers like Tom. So Heather, would you like to talk to the group for a bit?
Sure. Thank you, Heather. As Heather mentioned, I am Heather Slough, and I'm very proud to be serving as president of our Northwest Ohio chapter of the Association of Fundraising Professionals, or AFP, as many of you know it. We're strong partners with the center throughout the year in programming, so we're pleased to have Tom here with us for a three-part workshop this month. So Tom, thank you so much again for meeting us here virtually. I will talk about AFP for just a moment, if you don't mind. If you're someone that's really looking to expand your professional network and your knowledge base of philanthropy, then AFP may be a very wise investment in your career. So AFP provides educational programming, networking, research, advocacy, and most importantly, a sense of community for philanthropists and organizations across 240 chapters worldwide. We're living in really challenging times right now, so most fundraisers are looking for those educational programming opportunities, whether it's here locally or on a larger scale webinar or workshop, maybe even a conference. So by joining AFP, you have a host of learning opportunities in front of you and a vast amount of resources to tap into. So here in Northwest Ohio, we have roughly 110 to 120 members representing small organizations with one or two, or organizations with like one or two people that are doing all the work, to much, much larger organizations. So if you're new to fundraising and you're looking to connect with aspiring professionals like yourself, or if you're looking to connect with a senior leader, we have all of that here in our chapter and would welcome your membership. So please do look at our AFP Northwest Ohio website for membership and scholarship opportunities. There are plenty of scholarships available if you do apply, and we'll keep you on top of the latest trends and best practices in fundraising. And the other thing that I wanted to touch on briefly, our chapter is celebrating our 33rd annual National Philanthropy Day celebration on November 12th. So we will be honoring a number of outstanding philanthropists in our area on a virtual platform. So please join us over the lunch hour. Our event will be streaming online, or you can catch us later in the evening on November 12th at 8 p.m. on WGTE. So hope to see you there for National Philanthropy Day. And I will turn things over to Heather again. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. I always enjoy National Philanthropy Day, and in full candor, I always need a tissue because the stories are just so moving that they talk about and the generosity of our community. Just a couple of quick things before we turn this over to Tom. If you're not registered for his session on October 27th, that is going to be a different format. It's what we're calling an intensive. We'll talk about the details of that later in the program. It's 2 hours, it's 10 to 12, and Tom is going to be critiquing pieces that you may choose to submit. Your piece may be open to critique, whatever that looks like. We all want honest feedback, right? The other thing is we're proud to be collaborating with AFP for a Giving Tuesday panel discussion, and you can learn more about that on the homepage of our website. So without further ado, I will turn things over to Tom.
Okay, that sounds good. Heather, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
All right. I keep getting these things to admit people into the waiting room. If I ignore them, that's fine.
Yes, you should not be getting those, but I'm handling those. Yeah.
Okay, I figured that.
All right, one of the logistics, Tom has also asked me to monitor any questions that you may have. Please enter them into the chat box, and we'll see how many we can get through. Okay.
Yeah. Well, welcome again. It was a lot of fun on Tuesday, and here we are Thursday. I'm back in Toledo. Didn't expect to be there twice in a week, but originally planned back when we used to actually get together. So today we're going to look at, well, you can see the title, 6 things that are critical to the success of your appeals. And that's the only thing that I focus on in my work, is how to help you find your way toward greater giving, toward more money donations coming in. And so everything here is picked not because it's a good thing to do, but because it's a great thing to do, actually. So let's take a peek at what we've got. Just going to bring you back to Tuesday. And as you will recall, donor communications has only 3 activities. You ask for my help, you thank me for that help, and then you report back to me what you did with the philanthropy, my help. How did I change the world? And as you can see, I've added some arrows here. When you're asking, if you're not taking care of the back end, the thank yous and the reporting, you're going to lose your donors, and they're not going to be as loyal to you, if you want to use that word. Okay, so here's thing number 1. And what is it? Well, let's take a quick little test here. You got 3 statements. They're all pretty much the same. We took the lead on LEAD, and that's, of course, a sustainability, a green movement that many institutions are involved with, or Acme College took the lead, or your school took the lead on LEAD. Now, guess which one of those is better. One is clearly better to a professional copywriter. Okay, so you guessed, I hope, number 3, your school. And that means that sentence passed the U test, and the other sentences did not. Now, that's vitamin Y, the word you. And sometimes people come to the word you and they do not bow in its presence, because they treat it as just another word. You know, it's another word in our vast vocabulary, and that's not true. Actually, it's far more than that. It's the most important word in sales and marketing, for one thing. It is also a psychological trigger that brings me closer, and it is your best cheap trick, honestly. So let's take a look at how you put that to work. The the couple of things you're seeing here, these are just quotes that I have found, and they're reinforcing this idea. The donor communications are always about the donor. They're not about the cause, the institution, the organization, the programs. They're about the donor and that donor's desire to do some good in the world. So when you talk about me and you use that word you, then I'm paying much more attention. Now, here's the psychologist that, again, is Loch Ness, and we're conducting a master class there. And the one of the co-presenters is a psychologist, Jen Shang, and this is something she said. I'm taking notes furiously. You draws people's attention, and what it is it kind of awakens their sense of self. And here's an example from Nashville Rescue Mission, which works with people that have the misfortune to end up homeless, which, of course, has become something of an epidemic since the pandemic came about, and it's been getting worse as housing becomes more dear and so forth. Nashville this is a typical email from them, and what this is a report. This is a newsletter, and it's coming in after a campaign has been completed, and it was a summer campaign in order to get bottles of water out onto the streets for people to drink, and they exceeded goal. And you can, if you read through it, but you don't have to, actually, because they did the right thing immediately in the subject line. You did it! ! And then the very first thing is this big block of big graphic, says you did it. And then it goes, Tom, earlier in the summer we asked blah blah blah, you delivered, thank you, with your help we surpassed goal, and so forth. All of that to the good. And you can't overwork this, by the way. A lot of people, oh, I get so tired of doing it. It can't, aren't we boring people? No, you're not boring people. The word you is so magic. And here's, again, this is, your kind of a guideline and that I use as a copywriter, when I'm preparing an appeal. Somebody's eye should never be more than an inch or so away from the word you. It should be all over the place, because it is what is personalizing, in most cases, many cases, whatever it is I'm supposed to be reading, right? So this is a letter that we study success in this workshop. This is a successful letter. As you can see, at the time this was retired, it ran for about 10 years. It had brought in over 35,000 new first-time donors to a hospital system in San Diego. And I circled with the red every instance of the word you, so that you could see just how densely populated this is with the word you. No matter where your eye goes, it's going to be encountering the word you. And that is very purposeful. Here's one that fails the you test. Not everywhere, because like the PS, it did okay. But you've got the opening here, dear Tom, and then it starts talking. It gives me a dense 4-line paragraph that I probably skip. And then the next paragraph has no you. And then the next paragraph has no you. And I finally get to the you. Well, that's a mistake. The you should be, one of the ways you write these things is to try to make you the very first word of your entire appeal. Okay. That was thing one, you. Now you know. Here's another thing. And meet Siegfried Vergela. He was a professor in Munich, Germany, and his specialty was direct mail. And what he did was set up a laboratory there with cameras, and he watched people read direct mail. And as they read, he noticed a phenomenon. Sometimes they would physically nod. They were agreeing with whatever it was they were reading. Now he said, you don't have to have a physical nod, but you do need to have a mental nod. The more mental nods you have, the closer I'm coming to making a decision in your favor. So let me show you what a mental nod looks like, and then you can practice this in the work that you're going to bring to me for critiques. Okay, so this is the outbound envelope, the outside envelope for an appeal for a hospice. And everything's chosen on purpose. Everything should have a clear reason for being there. Not, I think it would be a good thing. I know it would be a good thing. Okay, so in this case, we have an authority figure, a doctor, whose wife died in hospice care, and he was very grateful. We have one of the conventions of direct mail at the end of the little teaser, open immediately. And that is, again, part of that's direct mail 101. You always tell people what they should do next. You don't leave it for them to figure out, because that requires mental energy. And you don't bring any mental energy into this room if you can help it. But the most important thing, you can see it's the one that is labeled in yellow, mental nod, is the statement. And that statement, if you believe in hospice as much as I do. Now, all we're hoping for there is an instant decision, either, yeah, I like hospice, or no, I couldn't care less today. Maybe tomorrow, but not today. I'm too busy. And that's the mental nod moment. And that phrasing, if you believe in hospice, I've used that for arts groups. I've used that for all sorts of groups, because it always works. And here's another one. This is the fabulous Lisa Sargent. I believe I introduced you to her on Tuesday. And This is for an Irish charity that works overseas doing good things for people that need help. And people in Ireland contribute, and they contribute a lot to it. It's a big, popular charity. They're Catholic. And here they're asking for, you could see the bold type there down, an incredibly generous gift of 4,350 euros will fund an entire ambulance and tuk-tuk, which they don't really expect people, maybe one or two, to give the full amount, but they're just kind of being honest. These things are expensive, and yet they're extremely important. But look at the top. This is the special letter that goes, an exceptional request for assistance from one of our most exceptional supporters. And then it would have my Mr. Tom Ahern, dear Tom. Now, the test you're seeing here is called the Is This Me test. And I use this as kind of a quick, very rough measure of whether people are going to find themselves in the appeal that I'm sending to them. Is this me? Well, yeah, because it's got my name there, and every letter is going to be different because every letter will be going to a different person. Is this me? Well, let's see now. Every now and then I make a special plea, and this is written by the executive director, of course, for exceptional assistance from a select few of our most trusted and most important supporters. Now, if that felt like a flattery bath, that's because it is a flattery bath. The words there were specifically chosen by the very brilliant Lisa, who knows what she's doing, and she's doing a special plea for exceptional assistance from a select few of our most trusted and most important supporters. And that's why I'm writing this special note to you today. That is wonderful. And we all, again, we study success. So I know how well this did. It did very well, broke records. But part of that is because it makes me feel wonderful in the very first paragraph, rather than, let's say, talking about yourself, which is the way not to go. All right, here's Soy Dog. This is a Facebook solicitation, a Facebook appeal. Soy Dog raises all of its money on Facebook. They don't do any other kind of fundraising, and they're able to, well, their run rate is for every dollar they spend on a Facebook ad, they raise $7. So depending on how much they want to invest that month, they typically run at a rate of about $350,000 a month coming in from people who are not in Bangkok, Thailand, where the Soy Dog Foundation actually works. And just animal lovers all over the world. And, I've labeled this with the Is This Me voice balloon so that you get the idea. When Melito was found unable to walk, terrified, many would have said she had no future, but not people like you. Now that's a mental nod, is this me moment for some people, not everybody, but for some people, for the people that have the time and are dog animal lovers who see this suffering. And there's a little video that's enclosed with this. You can see some clips from it there. She was paralyzed. She's dragging her back legs around. Then she's in veterinary care. And now, look, she's got wheels. That's her on the right. And, they're going the same route that Lisa Sargent took the people in Ireland down, to join a special group of animal lovers who are changing the world. And the question, the Is This Me question is, do I want to be part of that special group? And many people say, yeah, sign me up. This is fabulous. So here's a basic piece of psychology that drives a lot of copywriting. I pay attention to the things that interest me, and what interests me most is me. And that's the same for you, or maybe your kids, or maybe, with your loved ones and so forth. Because it went 3 paragraphs deep, many lines deep into that appeal without ever mentioning the word you, which is, the flip side of the coin from the me. So if you want to talk about me, you have to use the word you. All right. Thing number 3 today, the sense of self. What is self? Yourself. The thing that is you is comprised, according to psychology, modern psychology, of kind of an amalgam of identities. And you want to be talking to those identities in your writing, in your appeals. Here's what some of them are. They're not, this is not exclusive. I'm going to give you a big list of things to play with. But again, here's Jen, and she's saying these are 5 of the most prominent identities for people, their personal identity, what they like and don't like, by the way, about themselves, because sometimes charity comes from, gee, I wish I hadn't done that or acted that way, and now I'm going to make up for it. You have your family and friends. Those are relational identities. You have your affiliation. Hey, go Ohio State. And so forth, Buckeyes, and or I was a Girl Scout when I was a kid. These are identities that never get displaced. They're always part of you. There's your place identity, your own backyard. I see we had the Chamber of Commerce showing up. That's a place identity right there. And you can see that the the stacking order here for place identity, it local is the strongest, regional is the next strongest, national is the next strongest, and international is the well, I'd say weakest, but it can be very strong too. And then you have the moral identity. Whoa, this is where everything goes crazy, because it's all about the emotions that you feel, and you can see there's a group of people, 6 faces across the bottom there. That's from a company called Next After, and it used to be on their homepage. And what it is the 6 reasons why people give. Right. And they give for different reasons to different causes. Not, hope. Yes, I want something to turn out really well. Or protest. Oh, that's awful. Or change. We have to do something about that. Or pride. Ohio State again. Or, you grew up in a belief system, or you want to be part of something. You want to be part of your community. All those things are important to people. This is what an actual identity looks like. And that is my wonderful wife. And we were in Oslo, standing in front of a very famous painting called The Scream, and she was wearing her favorite t-shirt, and that's where she expressed herself. That's what an identity actually looks like. Okay, so let's look at some more identities. Emotional identity, for instance. You can see that's a typical American donor, not by race, but by age and gender. And, there's all sorts of things going through her mind. And here's a statement you'll find if you look this one up, like Google it, you'll find there are many, 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 many versions of this. If you've ever wondered what you'd do during slavery, the Holocaust, or the Civil Rights Movement, well, you're doing it right now. And it's an interesting statement, because many people would like to do something But we are all, as Seth Godin says, lazy people in a hurry, so we don't actually get around to doing something. And many times I think charities are the outlet for this because it allows me to do something with my surplus income that I don't really have to, like go out and march in the streets and stuff, but I can be part of this. I can be part of a movement. These are the emotional triggers that you're taught if you're training as a copywriter, and they would be the same pretty much for commercial work and for fundraising work. They are arranged here simply alphabetically, not in terms of potency. And, I made them different colors just so it would be more easier to skim. But what you typically do in copywriting is you say, okay, how could I use? Are people going to be angry about this? All right, and then that's one trigger. But then you have a balancing trigger, which is hope, because you're kind of in probably most cases, just generally speaking, charities are selling hope. They're selling things. They're selling that. And so, I'm angry, but there is hope. Or remember the asking people to buy the ambulance, and that whole first paragraph is all exclusivity and it's all flattery, and that's intentional. That didn't accidentally happen. That's because Lisa Sargent knows what she's doing. Greed can be good greed. Don't think of it necessarily as a bad thing. It could be a greed to have every child in my neighborhood get a great education and go on to a successful adult life. That would be kind of what the Boys and Girls Clubs like to do, and so forth. So, all these things, this is very practical copywriting. It's not, we don't pretend, we don't make things up, we don't invent. We get as much psychology as we can under our fingernails and then work with it. Now, the species identity is very interesting. The human species has something in it by evolution and nature that many animals do not, other life forms, and that is empathy. We can actually feel the pain of someone else. Now, if you bring in a huge number like 3 million people are suffering from this, that kills that empathy because your brain can't actually work with numbers that big. If you tell me the story, though, of one child who's hurting, well, you've got me. Now, there are other things going on. Your brain has a bunch of chemicals that get released at different times. When you make a gift, your brain releases 3 different chemicals. One is oxytocin, and those feel good. Those are your feel good stuff. And those drugs are useful to us as fundraisers because we want to release them in people. And they will feel positively because they've acted, because they got past their inertia and did something for somebody else. So I want to introduce you to something again from biology called the cuteness factor. You can see the adult and the young look different. What is different, and it's probably easiest to spot with the kitten and the cat down below. See how much bigger the kitten's forehead looks. And as you, there's a pronounced thing in children that goes away as you become an adult. Now, what is this? It's actually called the cuteness factor in biology. It is a signal that we get from the young that is telling us, I still am vulnerable. I still may need your help. And so, some charities have a huge advantage because they're working with kids and they're trying to help kids. And I am, as an adult, hardwired to be responsive to that. So when you see something like this, This is the homepage for an orphanage in Tijuana called Vida Joven, Joven. And this is one of they have 3 different sliders on their homepage last time I looked anyway. And this was one of them, is a child. And so the cuteness factor kicks in right away. And the child has a question running over its face. Will you keep me safe? And that question is magic. Questions always turn the human brain on a little bit more. And I need an answer to it. And I'm looking this kid in the eyes, and he is very young and very vulnerable. And I know Tijuana is one of the most dangerous cities on earth for a murder rate right now. And this kid is out on the streets with no one to protect him. Will you keep me safe? He's asking. And I have 2 things I can do. That's it. I can either donate, or I can find out a little bit more under FAQs. It's a brilliant piece of work. All right. Thing number 4, offers. Your appeals are offers, and everything, if you send it through the postal mail, if you're sending me an email appeal, if I'm going to your website and there's a donate button, that's an appeal, that's an offer. Social media, you saw the Facebook from Soy Dog, that ad asking people to give, to help. And they're all offer delivery systems. These are channels that allow you to deliver an offer. And what is an offer? Well, it's anything I can respond to, right? So if you offer me a chance to sign up for your amazing free e-newsletter that will keep me informed of what's happening in the business community in Greater Toledo, well, wow, okay, I got to do that because I'm a small business person. I need to know. And or I'm a wildflower lover, and I want to see what's coming in season right now. And so I sign up for the Audubon Society's e-newsletter. These are all offers. And what you're doing basically is you're building your list with these non-monetary offers. You're getting more and more people assembled who have some interest in whatever it is that you're doing. This is here. I'm going to give everybody an MBA right now. This is how the world works. You put the right offer in front of the right person at the right time, and magic happens, right? So here's one that worked. This is for a group called Friends of the Mississippi River, and it's out in Minnesota, the Twin Cities area, actually. The Mississippi River flows clean and pure and so forth until it gets to the Twin Cities, at which point it becomes a sewer, and nothing lives in it. Well, at least that was the case. They've been working on it now for quite a while, and it's getting cleaner, and you don't have to, if your kid steps in it, you don't have to go right to the hospital anymore. And so this is the outbound envelope, and the teaser message you see there is what worked. The Mississippi River has something urgent to ask you. Will you be my friend? So the river is talking, yes. And then you do the cheap trick 101 from direct mail. See inside for the full story of why our mighty river needs you. So if you're looking for frequency, which word is most frequent? It is the word you, and that's on purpose again. And this is the actual letter. It was a 4-page letter. You can see that we take that teaser message from the outside envelope and put it at the top of the letter. That links the outside and to the letter inside, and put it in big type. That's called in direct mail, it's called a Johnson box, named after Mr. Johnson, who purported to have invented this idea. But it's kind of like a headline. It's how a headline would work in an ad. It's bigger type. hard to miss, surrounded by white space. Will you be my friend? That's your very own Mississippi River talking. Notice that your is the second word. Actually, that's the Mississippi pleading, ... ellipsis, for your help. Again, the word you. You see, a river can't fix itself, but you can if you choose to become a friend of the Mississippi River. And it just keeps asking over and over for 4 pages. Will you join? Will you join? Will you join? Anyway, the advice from Stephen Screen, this would be the Better Fundraising Company. They're based in Seattle, and he was speaking at this nonprofit storytelling conference, and he just laid out what is a good appeal offer. It only has these 4 things. One is you're presenting me with a problem to solve that is easy for me to understand. They're telling me what the solution is, also easy to understand. I can afford it. The cost is a good deal. And there's some urgency, because if you don't have urgency, people can put it aside without any twinge in their conscience, right? So you don't want that. Let's go back to my letter. This letter, and now you can see the results of this letter. This letter went out to strangers, but we did know one thing about them. We knew that they had already given to some other nature-related cause. And so now I've labeled it so that you can see what's happening. The offer is, will you be my friend? That's the Mississippi River talking directly to the person reading, and not the organization, the Mississippi River itself. The organization actually is not all that important. The organization is a means to an end. You give through an organization in order to make something good happen. So that's your very own Mississippi River talking. It's pleading. There's your urgency. Is there a problem? Yeah, river can't fix itself. Is there a solution? But you can, if you choose to become a friend of the Mississippi River. Now, from that point on, we just kind of keep saying the thing over and over and over. And actually, you can see that you know why I'm in your hands by paragraph 3. Right? That is intentional. If you haven't asked me for whatever it is you're asking me for by paragraph 3, you're losing people. People don't read these things like novels. They skip around, and they'll read a few sentences, particularly if they're 1-line paragraphs. That was done on purpose too. That's to make it more skimmable, and then they'll kind of lean one way or the other, right? Who do they mail to? Well, how did they get this amazing 20% jump in membership with one bloody letter? They mailed to people who already gave to the National Audubon Society, the Wilderness Society, Greenpeace, Environmental Defense, Sierra Club, the Nature Conservancy, Defenders of Wildlife, people that already showed that they cared somewhat about nature and were willing to fight for nature. All right. Now you will hear, oh, we need stories. You need to tell stories. And that's true enough, true enough to a degree, sort of, kind of. The stories are useful, but they don't have to be there in an appeal. For instance, the Mississippi River one had no real story. It just had lots and lots and lots of very depressing facts about the state of that river. Could have gone a different way, but the thing I want you to understand is that stories support offers. They don't replace them. Your offer is the important part. And sometimes you want to do, and many charities, what you're looking at, the fastest way to explain to a stranger what you do and might they care is with before and after story. So here we go. We're back, and this is Soy Dog again. Soy Dog, by the way, I use them a lot because I know how well they do, and I know the people that create their ads, and I know how much work and thought goes into them, and research over the years, basically. What they do, this is a report. This is an newsletter. And you can see the before is Canayo on the left, and you can just count his ribs. And then you have Canayo on the right, tongue hanging out, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and the reporting today. Canayo has transformed into one of the liveliest and friendliest dogs I have ever met. That's the executive director talking. Her willingness to love humans despite being failed by them, that goes right to your heart, absolutely melts my heart. So for the right people, dog lovers, cat lovers, animal lovers, people that, look at that picture on the left and go, oh my God, no. Those will be your true believers. Those will be the people who actually get past their inertia and make a gift to you. And what is being triggered here by this before and after is the thought there that's in the middle in pink. Thanks to wonderful donors like you. Thanks to you. Thanks to you. You can't wear that out. Thanks to you. And if you make the little extra effort to insert an adjective like wonderful, you're going to make even more money, because you don't want to be withholding in this relationship. You want to be abundantly loving of your donors. All right. Thing number 5. What's a case? Well, this is the case for support. And a case for support is answering 3 questions, and those questions all have to do with one thing, which is, why in the world would I give you my hard-earned money? Tell me, please. And so the questions are these: why us? What are we doing that's so wonderful, so unique? That's very important, unique. If you're in marketing, you've heard of the unique selling proposition. That is, what is it we do that nobody else does, nobody else can do? We're special in that way, okay? Now, you can probably talk about that from sun up to sundown. That's the easiest question of the 3. I want to also introduce you right now to a default direct mail opening, DM direct mail. It can be used in any appeal. It doesn't have to be a mailed piece. It can be an emailed piece. And I'm writing to you today because... And then you throw in your case for support. And I'm going to show you a letter that did that, and it did amazingly well, just so you can have some model to work over. It is this. This is a letter sent out in 2010, as you can see there, and the date is important, from the Mark Twain Library, and it's the single library on the face of the earth that was created, endowed, built by Mark Twain, and they use his silhouette, his profile there in their very own logo. Now, what's interesting about this is if you look down the Board of Trustees list, you'll see a woman's name, Jennifer Wastrom. She wrote this letter, and Jennifer was not a professional copywriter. She was not a professional writer of any kind, but she took one small course and just applied the lessons. And one of the lessons she applied, you can see there, dear neighbor, she applied the "we are writing today to ask for your help." Now, it's we because they signed with 2 signatures. That would be considered by most professional copywriters a mistake. You always want to have the I talking to the you, not the we talking to the you. But this is a community effort, and again, we're studying success. We are writing today to ask for your help. You may be wondering why. Here's our answer. And I've underlined the red underlines and the why us in red and all the rest of that. All those things that highlight stuff. That's me adding to her letter so that you see what she's doing. So she's answering that first question, why us? Because we are the vital resource your community depends on. Okay. We are a public-private partnership, and that was something in Mark Twain's will. Mark Twain specified that the town has to give money to this, and if they stop giving money to support the library, then the library should close because it's no longer relevant. Here's the bottom of this letter. It's a 1-page letter. That's all it is. Right there, another thing that most professional copywriters would say, nope, it's got to be at least 2 pages, but they didn't do it. They got 2 signatures. Nope. but they did it. And so why us? Well, because everything here is available to the community for free. I want you to recall the date of this letter, 2010. And we are Reddings, that's the name of the town, cultural and informational hub. We are a free public library for all. And what makes us special? It was his dream, and they're using Mark Twain's own calligraphy to write these little statements at the bottom. It was his dream. It's your library. Keep it alive. All right, so why now? Let's go back to Jen's letter. All right, so now I'm going to explain why 2010 is important. We're 2 years into the Great Recession. People have lost their jobs. I used to be spending $150 a month on my internet access. Now I don't have an income. So what's happening? Well, libraries all over the country are having a renaissance as people flock to them in order to have internet access and to, explore what their next job is going to be, and to see if the green shoots are coming, is the economy coming back and so forth. Anyway, it's a tough time. And guess what? Here we are again, the pandemic, the economy is in trouble. We are there. This could say 2020 on it. Why now? Here's our answer to you. Why now? To keep our famous founder's dream alive. Now, when you say we are going to keep our dream alive, you're also suggesting the backside of that, the negative, which is it will die. And nobody wants this library to die. This library is an architectural masterpiece, for one thing. It is of its time, Victorian. It's beautiful, beautiful and up to date. It's a source of pride for anybody. This actually makes my property values go up having this library in our town. But times are tough. Why now? Times are tough, and we have to raise this amount in order to fulfill the obligations of the public-private partnership. And so, why now? Keep it alive. Sustain Mark Twain's gift to Reading. And finally, the only other question you have to answer, although this is the, in some ways, toughest question, because you probably don't know a heck of a lot about your donors. Most charities do not know them except for their major gift donors, who they, kind of follow around slavishly, like a dog. Okay, so why you, the donor, might care? Why would I care about your thing? Okay, well, here we go. Viktor Frankl, he was in Vienna, a psychiatrist, already famous, actually, in the 1930s, when the Nazis marched in and took away his entire family and put them in death camps. As it happened, they all died except for Viktor Frankl. He was rescued by the Allies. And when he came out, he had observed something in the camps that became a principle of his for the rest of his career. And he became a famous, as you can see, neurologist, psychiatrist. He noticed in the camps that when people had a purpose, and it didn't have to be a big purpose, it could be any purpose, they tended to live longer. So if my purpose is I'm the person who guards the stick that keeps the window open so we get some fresh air at night, that kept me alive longer. And this became fundamental for his understanding of human psychology. Humans need purpose. And that's what you can provide as a charity. You can come to me and you could say, we need you. And you can, and there's your typical donor. Why she might say yes. And let's go back to the Mark Twain Library. Why did this work so amazingly well? Because it did. We are writing today to ask for your help. In other words, translation, I'm needed. And then they come right out and say it, because your gift is necessary to maintain. Oh, hey, we need friends like you. Your support, no matter the size, will help. It is your library. All of these things are saying to me, it's my responsibility, and in the community, that can be a very powerful motivator. So we're getting to the end here. More stuff to think about when you're doing your appeal. Should you be writing me an essay, or should you be having a conversation with me, a little talk? Well, it should be a little talk. And that's the good advice of one of the great direct mail writers, George Smith. And it comes out of his book, Tiny Essentials. All fundraising copy should sound like conversation. So one of the reasons it needs to get that conversation going, which is another reason to use the word you as fast as possible, is that this is a documentary picture of the mail flow at our house. And we got the side table and we got the recycling bag. And between that table and the bag, you've got 1 to 3 seconds to interest me. And that's your entire window of opportunity. And it's the same for digital. What do you do first thing in the morning? Most of us go to our inbox and delete as much as we can, as fast as we can. You've got to deal with that. That is the world today. Now, this is a letter that was built to succeed because it is easy to skim. This is it's on top of a survey, actually, and that was the offer. We need you to tell us about yourself. That was the survey. So notice the first sentence. Anne Marie here. She's the executive director of a $60 million a year charity that works with refugee camps around the world, and yet it's using this extremely friendly hello. Anne Marie here. I have a few questions I'd love to ask you about your feelings and such. This is not a trick survey, by the way. I'm not secretly writing to ask for a gift. One line paragraphs over and over and over. And of course, some of the grammarians in the audience, people that got A's in 10th grade English, are thinking, oh, no, I'm not going to write this way. And here's my answer to you. Well, prepare for failure, because if you don't write this way, I can't easily consume what you're telling me. Notice the grade levels at the top, because I scored this. The grade level is 4th grade. The reading ease is 83 out of 100. The reading ease has to be at least 55 and above. And for any kind of appeal, you should be writing at the 8th grade level or below. That has nothing to do with the vocabulary of your work. What it has to do is with the speed that I can consume it. So to give you the opposite, this is a real letter, by the way, an appeal. Hope this email finds you. Grade level here is 12. That's as high up as it goes in Microsoft Word. So that basically is topped out, and it right there, to a professional copywriter, you just automatically rewrite that because it is built to fail. And then you have a series of 4-line paragraphs. You might as well just have punched me in the nose, because most people are going to look at that and think, labor, and move on with their lives because they don't have the time to indulge your 4-line paragraphs. By the way, insiders love those 4-line paragraphs and they hate those 1-line paragraphs. And so you're going to get complaints from insiders, and that's a good thing. And as I mentioned before, because we saw this on Tuesday, you really, complaints from the insiders, your boss, the board chair and all that, those are good things. So you work for those. If I'm not getting complaints, I'm worried. All righty. Thing 6 and final. Get opened. This is the same for digital or print or mailed. Envelopes need to get open. Subject lines need to get open. That's your first hurdle. So what is your envelope, if you're sending out a direct mail appeal, going to say? Well, let's see. Here's Jerry Hunziker, who was my first of thousands of mentors. And he says the outside envelope purpose is to get ripped open. Can you see it? Can you hear it? Ripped open with as much anticipation as possible. Okay. Every day you're buried, I'm buried, we're all buried under thousands and thousands of advertising messages, other kinds of messages, headlines, news reports. It's much worse with the internet now. And they're coming in at us. They're trying to get into our heads. And we quickly sort these and in really, try to save ourselves into two initial piles: the stuff we cannot safely ignore, and that's where your bills go, and the stuff I can safely ignore, and that's where all your stuff goes. So all nonprofit stuff goes initially into pile number 2, stuff I can safely ignore, nothing bad happens to me. And out of that second pile, I have a little bit of a third pile, which is the stuff I am personally interested. So I hope you use the word "you" there. How does this work? Okay, so this is an envelope. People look at both sides of an envelope, so you can use the back. They look at who sent it. They look at if you spell my name wrong, you're already dead. Let's see, why isn't it advancing? Please advance. Okay, there you go. And so the question is, what intriguing thing can I do on my envelope or in my subject line that will cause more people to open it? And plain envelopes test quite well, actually, or a hint of exclusivity from the president's office. That's all it says. Or a bold teaser can work. And here's a bold teaser. Sue the bastards. You send this to the right people at the right time because something's happening, and money floods in. We had something at the 2016 election called rage philanthropy, and that was this phenomenon at work. Or, hey, just do something I've never seen before, like this nature cause up in Canada. They had a hummingbird, ruby-throated hummingbird, sign the letter, and that's the ruby-throated hummingbird's actual life-size footprints. They are in the return address spot. And what happened? Well, this was sent out to people that were already donors. They were the people that had already shown their love for nature. And it tripled their typical response rate. So maybe their typical response rate for a second or third appeal in a year would be, 10, 15, maybe at best. Now they're getting like 30% of people saying, oh, that was very entertaining. I'm going to help again. So that's what we have today. And if we have questions, I have 1 minute and 10 seconds.
We have one question. Is there a way to get those ratings in Word?
Yeah. It's called grammar and spelling on my version of Word, which is an old version, but it's basically built in to Word. It's been built into Word forever. Finding it sometimes can be a problem because Word has so many features, but it's there, and you have to turn it on because it isn't going to be automatic necessarily. There are online resources that do exactly the same thing. So they're all using the same scales called Flesch-Kincaid scales. And anyway, yeah, it's there. And I, when I'm writing, I'm using it every 10 minutes, maybe even more often. And what I'm doing is driving my grade level down as low as I can make it go.
And just response said that she had used Gutenberg Editor.
Yeah. See, there are many others too.
Okay, great. Well, wow, another hour that just flew by, Tom. Thank you so much. And I know, isn't this great? And so
Greater Toledo inspires me. Oh.
And if you were not part of session 1, the replay is out in our blog on our website, so you can go back and take a look at that. Oh, Tiffany says we are inspired. Hey, Tiffany. Why don't you explain, Tom, just a little bit what you are planning to do during session 3?
Okay, here's what we're going to do. First of all, it's safe. It's a safe environment. Bring your stuff. Don't worry about being critiqued in a poisonous way that will, drive you to drink. That's my promise to you. What you will do is send to Heather, right, your something like an appeal that you're writing now, something that hasn't gone out yet, unless you want me to tell you, why something failed and why I think it might have failed. I can I can try that too. But we're kind of, this is the giving season coming up. So, October, November, December, that's our giving season in the United States. And so if you're going to send out something and you've already drafted something, show me. I can tell you within seconds, honestly, whether it is built to fail or built to succeed. I have about 10, 12 tests, quick little tests that we apply to donor communications. They're all, out of science and research. And so, show me your stuff and I'll talk to you about what I see there and I'm going to do it kind of on the fly rather than study them in advance, because that's the way your reader will meet them. If you're sending me something, I want to see the subject line if it's an email. If you're sending me something, I want to know what's on the envelope, if there is anything on the envelope. And then I want to see the letter, because these things do matter. It's a success at donor communications is a matter of getting 24 small things more or less right. Not perfect, because I don't care about that, just more or less adequately right. Okay.
So what an amazing opportunity, because even if you get not great feedback, let's adjust those things now before you spend all that time and effort getting your materials out there and you don't maximize the opportunity. So here's how it's going to work. Tom, correct me if I'm not remembering this correctly. If you want to send to me, Heather at c4npr.org, you guys know how to find me, a piece of material that you want Tom to critique, they're going to be logged in a first come, first served basis. And we estimate in 2 hours, depending on how deep Tom goes on the particular pieces, we're probably going to get through 9 through 12, maybe 9 to 12 pieces. So I invite anyone who wants Tom's critique to send those pieces to me, and I'll forward them on to Tom. And even if you don't, we're all going to learn, because you're going to be able to watch how he critiques and which tests he applies. Okay. And if anybody has any questions, just give me a call or send me an email. So that, as a reminder, is October the 27th, 10 to 12. If you're not registered, you can do that on the website. You figured that out because you're here. And let's see. So Tom, we're inspired. I've been enjoying these a great deal. Tom has made it very easy to be inspired. And I can echo that. I mean, I'm not from the discipline of development, but I work on a lot of promo copy for the center, and this has helped me tremendously. All right. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for AFP for continuing to collaborate. And Tom, thank you for visiting Toledo. All right.
Okay. See you soon, everyone.